Hello, here is your astrology chart, and we're going to start off by looking at the lineage. So, the lineage in astrology is going to be describing a skill set that you're naturally born being a master of. So, we all have something that, when you're a little kid, your mom will notice these certain traits about you. So for you, you have the South Node over here in the 12th house. So we'll call this the Pisces job. And then the moon is in Leo. So we'll call this the Pisces job in the Leo tribe. So the South Node is describing where you've been, the mastery level that you came in already having. And then the North Node is where you're going. So looking at where you've been, the Pisces job in the Leo tribe. Leo, as a moon position, is the group of royalty. And I described this to you the other day, maybe a while ago, about being bright, shiny, beautiful, grabbing attention. So whenever you walk into a room, it's like a peacock just walked into the room, and everybody's going to notice that. Everybody's going to eyes are going to go that direction, and it's a very royal type of person. And sometimes this can become like the ball hog in a way because they're grabbing the attention, and they know that. Leo moon people know that they stand out when they're in a place. So some of the benefits of having a Leo moon is that you will be naturally self-loving, self-radiant, self-sufficient. You can go off into any situation and feel that so there's something within every human being that we desire to be loved. And for somebody with a Leo moon, they know that they're loved because there's this sort of, that imagery of the Sacred Heart, or they'll say the heart of the lion. It's just this royal heart. And the Leo moon is what really embodies that royalty. So that's the lineage. And with the lineage, this is a place that you can always come back to when you get stressed out or feel exhausted. Doing things that feed the Leo moon. So taking care of yourself, getting out into nature, eating fruit, eating you know what I mean? Like being like the king to yourself. That will sort of regenerate your life force. Then from the moon, what we want to do is move into the rising sign. So in Vedic astrology, they tell us to stay away from the south node and to go toward the north node. So the reason we're not looking at the signs is because the north and south node, this axis will be in the same position for a whole year. So it'll go through the sign throughout a whole year, but the house position changes every 4 minutes, or it'll change a degree every 4 minutes. So the house position gives us more clues about your in particular relationship to the nodes. So moving away from the south, going toward the north. This is the sixth house, which is like Virgo. And then you also have Virgo rising. So I mentioned this about Vedic astrology because they say to stay away from this end and go toward this end, just because I want to mention that I don't really agree with that. And the school that I study with also is like, yeah, it's not about going away from what you've already mastered. It's knowing that you've already mastered these certain things. For you, Pisces job in the Leo tribe, knowing that you've already mastered that. And if you hang out in that realm, that you're not evolving. So you'll eventually get pushed into doing your rising sign. So I forgot to mention one thing about your lineage. So within this tribe of radiant, beautiful, self-loving royalty, your specialty has to do with feeling the vibe of the tribe. Pisces job is going to be the one who's loving. It's a universal love, empathy, compassion, feeling into the group of lions, That's an interesting imagery. So feeling into that group of lions and being able to have empathy with what they need and provide love and compassion. So Pisces is that realm of I call Pisces so there's like this glue that holds everything in the universe together, love maybe, this sort of threads that connect us all. And Pisces is really in tune with that glue or those threads. And they're able to sort of, it's like tentacles. They can send that out. They're picking up the vibe. And then they're able to, with you having a Leo moon, able to take care of it, do what needs to be done. So that big heart isn't just, it changes it from being just about yourself, because typically a Leo moon, this self-love, self-radiance, it is coming from this big heart, and it circulates around that person, and it may inspire others to love themselves also. But with your South Node having that Pisces vibe, it really is that love being projected out into the whole universe, and having this empathy, psychic sense, intuition that is not just for yourself, that it's for humanity. Or, if you're a little kid, it's for the household or the group you were with as you're growing up. Okay, so now moving into the new school. This is what you're here to learn about. Most astrology will call the North Node and the rising sign your life purpose. I like to think about this like you've already mastered these things from the lineage, and now you've signed up in this lifetime to learn about the Virgo job in the Virgo tribe. So Virgo, you have lots of things to learn with Virgo here. And Virgo is the priest, or the priestess, the one who is in tune with the rhythms and the timings of the planet, of the earth, of, even just at home, your day-to-day things, like keeping a tight schedule. So if you have Virgo rising, you may completely suck at that for a while, because this is your growth edge, your learning curve, the things that you're here to master. So you have your whole entire life to become this form of the emerging masculine that is so some of the other words that come up with this are dedicated to your sacred work. Whatever your sacred work is, and what it looks like on your chart right now is like some of those things are being worked out. And when I say that, it's because I didn't explain this, so I'll do it now. Here is the Earth. This little X represents you on Earth, the moment you were born. Here's where the planets and things we're looking at were the moment you were born. And then here on the outside is tomorrow. So I put it for the 15th because we're having this really potent, powerful new moon in the sign of Taurus that's happening tomorrow. And you can see that this new moon is opposing a bunch of stuff you have down here. So this is important for you. I would call this like a personal, something that is activating a part of you. And you also have a lot of other things going on. So if you want to know about that, just go ahead and ask. I'll briefly say you have Venus going over your contribution to the world, the midheaven. When I talked to you before, you had Mercury, which is ruling over or in resonance with our own communication, the way we speak, express ourselves, the way we think, our cognition and perception. And last time I talked to you, you were in a Mercury return, and it was exact. And now that's so there's Mercury moved off of your natal Mercury, but this so Uranus, who's moving into the sign of Taurus on the 16th, is transiting your natal Mercury. What this does is brings out new, it's not even it brings it out. It's like a sudden shift in perspective, a sudden shift in the way that you perceive, the way that I think about it like your intellect, the way that your mechanics work in your mind, your programming, and we all have programming. We all have ways that we were trained, and it's ingrained in us this certain style of thinking. The way that you have that going on is being transited by Uranus, who is a change agent, a revolutionary change agent who comes in to bring sudden transformation, sudden changes, and for you on the way that you're perceiving the world. So that's super interesting, super exciting. Don't know, you never know what you're going to get with Uranus. So tuning into that today, tomorrow, the next day, probably for at least until November, because this transit is going to be lasting a while for you because Uranus moves very slow. So staying open to that, being open to shifting your perspective. So much fun. I think it's so much fun. Anyway, you also have the nodal axis, which is the south and north node of the moon we just talked about here. You're having what's called a nodal reversal. So it's halfway between every 18 years we have a nodal return, and a nodal reversal time is the halfway mark. So it's kind of like a checking up on all of this material, where you've been, habits, patterns, addictions. That's the realm of South Node and Moon. Habits, patterns, addictions, and lineage, deep programming. And then the North Node, where you're going, your new emerging self. And so you can see that happening. So very big timings going on for you right now. So, I think I covered your new school, what you're here to learn about, Virgo job and the Virgo tribe. So some of the things that could happen, I think I mentioned that you could become completely not paying attention to the timings and the rhythms, completely not taking care of your sacred work, not knowing what your sacred work is. That's something that happens with a Virgo rising. And something else that I often notice with people that have Virgo rising is that there really is not a, unless you go into an actual priesthood, become a monk or become an actual priest or something like that, which your chart doesn't say that that's what you're doing at all. But I mean, not from what I see. Short of that, there is not a particular job that somebody with Virgo rising would do, meaning that you're learning what your sacred work is. And the thing that I find a lot is that there's a lot of musicians and artists and computer programmers, and a lot of them are doing contract work. So they don't necessarily work for somebody else. This can be a challenge for somebody with Virgo rising. It's like, what is my sacred work? How do I get into it? And so going back and forth between completely not doing your sacred work because you don't know what it is, or you're avoiding it in some sort of a way. And then the other side of that is going so much into attention to detail, being focused on every single little, it's like when you are just dialed into this tunnel vision. That's the thing, tunnel vision on just what you're paying attention to. And so the rest of the whole world of opportunities completely goes over your head. So this can be the sort of pole that you're on with Virgo rising. And so more of the information on the chart will help you to narrow it down and get more specific into what is your sacred work. So let's keep going and see if we can get to some of that material next. So the next thing is your inner masculine. The inner masculine is showing us the form of the masculine that you embody as a man. So being in a male body, we look at Mars to find out the form of the God that you embody. And your Mars is, your Mars is in Aquarius. I remember this is super exciting to me because we actually have really cool, it's very similar. So our, like my Venus and your Mars are connected to each other. And your Mars and so they go back and forth. It's anyway, I'll show you another day. So your Mars is in Aquarius. Aquarius, as a form of the masculine, is very innovative, intellectual, has this big picture perspective, cosmic consciousness, an overview on life that is very huge, like the most expansive, biggest, all encompassing. There's nothing left out. This is like the cosmos, the form of the masculine that is in tune with the consciousness of the entire universe. So being able to expand that big. What we do is mix Mars alchemically, combining the imagery we have of Mars in Aquarius with your rising sign. So we'll take Mars, which is huge. Your Aquarius Mars is huge, expansive, cosmic consciousness, mixing that with Virgo, the priest, the one who is focused on the tiniest little details of whatever it is focused on. And you can see the diversity and the vast difference in these two things. So your sort of astrological job as your form of the emerging masculine is to pay attention to the details, knowing what your sacred work is. And if you don't specifically think you know it, like you don't feel like you're doing it or whatever it is that you're doing, paying attention to the details of whatever it is you're doing, and then being able to innovate on that. And the best question that I have to ask, because I have that Aquarius vibe also very strongly in my chart, is, ooh, what if? Curiosity is your best friend. Keeping curiosity as your best friend. What if I try it this way? What if I say it like that? What if, the what if, and not taking it to like, whoa, what if this happens? Not that, but, what if? I wonder. That wonderment, wonder filled, that sort of energy is going to be very helpful for you in your masculine. All right, so and I can go on and on talking about each one of these little points that I'm mentioning, but I want to give it to you like this broad overview of your chart. And then whatever you're interested in, you can ask, you can Google it, look it up, you'll find out a lot more. So your inner feminine is the form of the goddess that you most wish to connect with. And you have Venus in Aquarius, which would say, okay, so the next thing I better mention here is that, where are we? Over here, who am I? This first house investigates who am I? The seventh house investigates who are you? And this is known as the relationship axis. Why on earth would you ever want to be in a romantic relationship with a beloved? For you, it's all about sacred work and having a helpmate. I always think of Virgo Pisces relationship axis as Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They're so dialed into universal love and compassion for the entire universe that their love relationship becomes medicine for the whole planet forever and ever. And amen, forever and ever. I don't know if you know that song. Anyway, this is very big deal. It's like this relationship, why would you ever want to get in a relationship? It would be something that is not just for you and your beloved, but the love that you share with your partner is helpful to the entire planet in some sort of way, raising the vibration through your own love and the connection with your beloved. So let's see, Venus in Aquarius. So what we do is mix your Venus alchemically with the descendant. So who am I? Your rising. Who are you? The descendant. So we combine the imagery for Aquarius with the imagery for Pisces, and we get this super, to me, this is like one of the most beautiful things as far as the emerging goddess, because Pisces and Aquarius are both universal. It's impersonal. With Pisces, the universal love is impersonal. It is love. It is just love. And then with Aquarius, it's cosmic consciousness. So they're both very expansive. So your form of the goddess is someone who is, or what you're most attracted to is the form of the goddess who is universally loving, compassionate, empathic, psychic, intuitive, having this cosmic perspective. So the eye behind the eye, and I'm talking about this eye, but also the eye as in the individual behind the cosmic individual, behind the lowercase self behind the big self. If that makes sense to you, it's like the one who is in tune, has her, not just her finger but her whole body in the pulse and vibration of the entire planet, not just the planet but also the energy, because Pisces is really that tentacles that are tuned into the love vibration. So, it's so big, so big, and just filled with so much love. This is your form of the goddess. So what this means is that when you're attracted to somebody, it's mostly going to be through those eyes, like, oh my gosh, wow, you can feel it. You know, it may not even be how she looks. It may not be about what your eyes are sensing, but what you're feeling. Like, you'll know it because it feels so big and powerful. And the thing to know about this is my favorite topic because it's something that all of us in my realm anyway struggle with, because having this attraction to something on the outside of our own being shows us who we are. This is you. What I've described as your inner feminine, it is you. And you may be attracted to that on the outside because that is going to teach you and show you about yourself. So, there's this whole thing that I've created. There's a book I wrote called The Alchemy of Intimacy, and there's a chapter in there that talks about the sacred marriage, where you really unite your Mars and your Venus, your masculine and your feminine within yourself. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. So that's your form of the goddess. The next thing and when I shared this material with you in Kauai not too long ago, you were like, so who should I be with? And there's this thing in astrology that you can like type in compatibility between signs, and it's complete bullshit, all of it, because who you should be with is who you're attracted to. Because when you have that feeling of attraction towards somebody, you'll learn something, and there's an evolution, an alchemical evolution that's continually happening. And every time and it's not just like you meet somebody, you're attracted, let's do this. It's not like that, because sometimes it's just in that moment. You learn something, you pick it up, and you move on. Sometimes it is, I wonder what if, that Aquarian mind that's like curious, and what would happen if, and then you make the choice. You want to. That's who you should be with, because you want to. You want to explore. You want to explore, experience, all of these Aquarian words. Expand, it's like that. You make the choice. That's who you should be with. And then there is no way to astrologically, besides doing a synastry chart, there's no way to say who you should be with. A synastry chart is basically where you take your chart and the chart of the person you're interested in and seeing what connections you guys have. Is this a compatibility or not? And the way that you meet somebody is a mystery. It's all a part of the great mystery. Whatever that force is in the universe that pulls things together and breaks things apart, that force we can't control. But whenever it brings two people together, you can choose to engage or choose to disengage. And when you choose to engage and say yes and put put yourself together with that other person and see what kind of alchemical process happens. It's all your choice. So I hope that answers your question. There is nothing that you should be with or shouldn't be with. There are things that will be harder and there are things that will be easier, things that are more challenging and things that are more synergistic. And there's no way to be like, oh, I'm on the lookout for all these other people with Aquarius, because you can meet somebody with Aquarius, like their sun is in Aquarius, but it completely doesn't do anything for you. You don't feel it. They're not tuned into their Aquarius nature or whatever the thing is. So who you should be with is who you feel you should be with. Who you should connect with is what brings your spirit up to the surface. What makes you feel alive? And with your relationship axis being Virgo and Pisces, it is who is it that you feel can help you in your mission? Who is it that is your helpmate in evolving consciousness and universal love and compassion? That's just a couple of ideas about, well, who is it? Like, what am I compatible with? So the next thing we're going to look at is your midheaven. Midheaven gives us some clues about your contribution to the world, ways in which you could be using your talents and gifts to contribute. And you have Gemini on your midheaven. And you also have a Venus transit going over the midheaven, which could say that it could be physical, feminine, so a woman, or it could be your own inner feminine, or the way that you relate to the feminine. You could think of that in a lot of different ways. It's transiting over your midheaven, so you could even say that by me, female woman, giving you new information, because this transit is touching your midheaven, could help you to understand more about your work. So the feminine, Venus is transiting Gemini right now. So anyway, let's just go ahead and look at this. So your contribution to the world is going to be something that is, I would say, information based. Also fun, joyful, playful, moving, changing. So whatever it is that you choose to do is going to have this sense of newness, new, change, playfulness, bringing joy. That's the one. I feel like it's that one, bringing joy. So whatever it is you're doing is going to bring a sense of playfulness and joy. And there is some sense of, there's an information kind of feeling that goes along with that. Another thing that can give you clues about your work is Vesta. Vesta is known as the sacred hearth. If you think about the fire in you that keeps you going, you have Vesta in the 8th house, which is this esoteric, shamanistic, mystic realm, in the sign of Aries, which is really close to your sun sign, the sun in Aries when you were born. And you're having a transit of Juno and Chiron going over this information right now. So what I would be tuning into is that something that you mentioned before about revolution. Aries is very fast, furious, fierce, protective. And you have Vesta over here in Aries. So whatever your work is, it has that flavor of being protective and fierce. And sometimes I'll relate to Aries as a midwife, but a midwife, what they're doing is keeping this space sacred and fiercely protecting it. So there's some extra information there about your work, your sacred work. Down here on the home and roots kinds of gives us some clues about what it is that you need in order to feel at home within your body, within your space that you're sleeping in. And you have Sagittarius on the home and roots, which would give me this idea that forge, is that forging? Wow, interesting. So the word that comes up is forge because it is very on a quest, on a mission. So at night before going to sleep, you're laying there in your tent or out in the open sky. And the thing that really brings you that sense of being at home is being on the quest, being on a, whether it's physically like taking your physical body and being out on a quest, or if it's internally in your mind that you're learning new things, forging those new neural pathways in your brain, which can be just as journey and questing as taking your physical body there. But definitely, if you can integrate the physical body with the neural pathways, this is actually what would bring you that sense of being at home. So, not your typical explanation of home. It's different for you. So, there you go. I'll go ahead and stop there. I can talk all day about astrology because it's really one of my favorite things. If you have any questions about what I covered, please feel free to ask because I talked really fast to get it all in a 30-minute video. Please pause it on the points that you're interested in, write something down. You know, you can use Google to look things up. You can always feel free to ask me. I would love to elaborate more on anything that I've covered. So thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.